morning, wherever you are in the world. My name is Hannah Ruth Earle. This is my 4th year as a programmer of the Yale and Hollywood Festival, and we are so delighted that all of you took the time to watch these films and to watch these filmmakers discuss them. We have a great lineup of panelists this evening, and I think they can do a better job introducing themselves, and I want to give them the floor. So first, I will call on these filmmakers to introduce themselves and name their film, and then we're going to have a discussion about them. So again, thank you all so much for tuning in to the Yale and Hollywood Festival 2023. It means a lot, and we are more excited this year than ever to talk about incredible films from Yale filmmakers. So first of all, Kate, please start us off.
Happy to do so, Hannah. I'm honored to be included in the festival with my short dramatic film, Lemon Shark.
Fabulous. Giovanna.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for having me. My film is called Draw. It's a short.
Reggie.
Hey everybody, Reggie Austin, the Yale connection, Berkeley 01, just shout out to Berkeley 01, just saying.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm actor, writer, director of The Marked.
Delilah and Lucy.
Yes. Well, we wrote, edited, co-acted, co-directed,
and produced Victor versus the Metaverse, which is a proof of concept dark comedy.
Yes, it's an indie episodic, but it's in the dramatic short character.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all so much for being here. So Kate, please start us off. I want to know about the impetus and the origin story for this film. Where did you get your inspiration? How did you get started? Tell us that seed that was able to be nourished into this project.
I will try to be really concise because
you don't have to be.
This seed and this story is still going, and it began on a vacation I took probably 15 years ago when I started watching a documentary about lemon sharks. And the notion of the lemon shark, I started studying them and I was inspired. I'm an actor by training, Yale Drama 01, I think. I wasn't writing at that point. I wasn't directing. I was acting. But this notion stuck with me. I followed it. And then a number of years later, I had the idea after co-creating a feature with my husband that this story was ready to be born and made in Minnesota, where we had made our feature. And I applied for a grant to make it in my hometown. And at first it was going to be about just a group of friends who lose one of their best friends in a polar vortex because it's very cold here in the weather. And it was kind of a meditation on endangerment, essentially, was the notion, like lemon shark, but then what is it about them? They go home to give birth and to know how to survive and to enable the next generation to survive. So we had moved back to where I grew up and was born and raised. And so it was like, now's the time. So it centered around a group of women who lost one of their friends. And then it evolved as one of the women became an elementary school teacher and music was very much folded in. And I am still working with this thing. I was very happy to get the grant to make the short. And then, I just came in from finishing a first draft of a feature. So it's not done, but I think ultimately it's about everyone loves something that's endangered and everyone grapples with their own sense of endangerment. And I'm very much drawn to that in an educational setting. As an artist, I'm drawn to that notion. And then in our interpersonal relationships, how fragile we can be in our hearts and souls with one another. So anyway, I tried to be concise and I failed.
No, that's fabulous. That's very helpful. Delilah and Lucy.
Yes. So the origins of this film were kind of surprising out of nowhere. My brother was in town for NFT NYC. Now, if for those of you who haven't seen the film yet, it's a satire on the NFT world. He connected in an unlikely place in a urinal with the founder of an NFT startup.
Yes, and he self-described himself as a king, and he invited us to come make a movie during Art Basel Miami on this yacht event. They were hosting for a carbon neutral mega yacht, and I was like, I'm like, do you want a documentary? And they said, no, whatever you want.
Just as long as it's about an NFT.
Just as long as you incorporate an NFT in some kind of fun, positive way.
And so we kind of like, without knowing anything of what we were going into, just wrote like the outline of a script, but there were chunks of it that were kind of like, whatever we find there, we'll interact with it as characters. We decided to like play ourselves just as like Borat type.
So that's why within the film, it's like a journey about learning about NFTs, because we're both tutors. Within the film, it's really far from reality. We're tutors and struggling artists in New York City. And one of the dads of a kid I tutor gives me an NFT instead of regular money. And the NFT is not going up. So then I hunt him down at Art Basel to get it back. But while we're in Art Basel, Lucy's characters conducting an investigative report to discover like, what is this NFT thing? And it's a journey, and we're developing the idea further now. But I think the funnest thing is everyone in Miami is an actual person we found. So most everyone that we're talking to, those weren't lines, they're not written. And I actually think it's better knowing that those people are all real.
Exactly.
Wow. Thank you for that context. Alvin has joined us. Welcome, Alvin. Please give a brief introduction as well as of yourself, as well as the question is the impetus for this film in the festival. What was the origin of it?
Yeah, sorry for joining late. Had some difficulties with Zoom. But I'm Alvin. I'm a recent Yale grad from class of 2023. Excited to be here. And honestly, I might have to defer this question over to Giovanna, one of my friends from college. I was invited to help with this film, but I think I'd consider her the big brains behind it.
All right. Giovanna, you're next.
Thanks, Alvin. I consider myself the normal brains behind it. There was so the Yale Cinematic Association has a thing called the Fro Film, where it's like people who've never had experience in filmmaking create a film over the course of 3 weeks. The first week you learn how to use. They have like a long session where you learn how to use all the equipment, the sound, the cameras, everything. And then the second week you shoot the film. And then the third week you they screen it. So and I was in a screenwriting class, and I was like, it was a college seminar. Yay. And I was like, I should try to apply these things that I've done. So I wrote a tiny little script. There was some call for scripts, and so I wrote a little script that I like ripped from an essay that I wrote in a class about medieval Hebrew love poetry, and then kind of I submitted that to the Fro Film team, and they were like, "Well, you can make your own film if you want to do that, the thing that you wrote." And I was like, "Okay." So we were kind of like placed in like groups randomly, and were told, go out into the world and make this. So I texted Alvin and I was like, hey, I need somebody to play the professor. It's loosely based on and something that happened to me on Zoom, where I had this very deadpan professor, and I just kept saying like more and more extreme things until he would laugh, because I needed some kind of response to know whether I was doing a good job. It was hard over Zoom. Right, because Alvin and I were first years when the pandemic started. So so that became the film. We shot it in one day. We edited it throughout that week, but mostly all of the editing was done in one day. And yeah, then I guess it screened. I wasn't there. I can't remember why. Um, and and then yeah, it was a nice little, short little film. And then when I saw that Yale and Hollywood Fest was happening, I asked the team. I said, "Hey, uh, can I submit this?" And they were like, "Sure, do whatever you want." So uh, yeah, good. Shout out to everybody on the project. They're super great and lots of fun to work with. I'd say hire them. Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, Reggie.
So my project is The Marked, and it came about. So I graduated, years and years ago, many years ago, and came out of Yale and went into, just hit the ground running and sort of trying to build a career as an actor, and was able to do that. Ended up moving out to LA after being in New York for a while, and just doing the working actor thing, which is awesome, a blessing. And but as a working actor, it's sort of like you're a gun for hire, so you're constantly just going from project to project. But the idea from this just came from a place of just expressing creativity in a different way, with a project that was going to be my own. So I had this idea for a project, and being the good nerd that I am, always loving sci-fi, comic books, all these sorts of things, just was drawn to that, and ended up had this idea and wrote this feature-length screenplay based on this idea. But I always knew I was never going to be able to make it, just because it's sci-fi. It has creatures. It'd be VFX heavy. There's no way I'm making it without $40 million or something, and I'm like 39.999 million short. So I figured, all right, I'll put that on the shelf. Maybe one day I get my Denzel on, and then build up my career in such a way that I have enough clout that I can actually get this made. I'll do it then. But my wife, a fellow Yaley, Nicole Diamond, as she was known then, Morse 99, she was helped say, like, why don't you write a short film that's based on the world that you created, something that you can shoot, something that you can actually make. So that's what I did. I took the idea of the world and wrote these four new characters they weren't in the original script, that all takes place in one house, and I made it my house to make it much easier to shoot. And yeah, got a bunch of friends to help me make it. They were most gracious to do so, and was able to. At first, I thought it was just going to be a proof of concept of the idea of just the world, and if you like this idea, I have a whole script ready. But then things just kept happening, and things just kept falling into place, and just the magic of making movies just took over, and we really found something, and it became a movie that stood on its own. And then as a result, I think people like the world, but also like these characters. And then I realized that I had sort of tapped into something that was even better than the original feature. So given the short, if anything, I feel like I realized the original feature I wrote helped me to get to the short, which helped to better tell the story. And then because of that, it's like, okay, cool. So then what I did is I took the short and I actually retooled the feature. So now it reflects it has the same characters now in it. So that's the hope going forward, that one day, God willing, I get to actually make the feature, and hopefully 2 more movies. That's the pie in the sky dream, is to make it'd be a trilogy. But yeah, so it's sci-fi, but it's wrapped up in a family drama. So I like the idea of things genres that push beyond the classic tropes and telling something deeper or different, or can get at just more. So yeah, so I think there's lots of elements there that I think that work beyond just the sci-fi portion of it, even though that's a significant part. But no, ended up, I'm extremely proud of it, and it sort of has taken sort of my creative juices and like stirred them even more. And so I'm so passionate about it, and hopefully folks who have watched it have enjoyed it, and yeah, looking forward to see where else we can go with it. But yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you for having us.
Yes.
You're welcome. We are delighted to include your film, and wish you all the best of luck with it as it moves forward into the world, and hope that you're able to expand it exactly as you would like.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. So my next question is about learning. And as a filmmaker, what is the lesson that you will take with you going forward as you work on other projects? What did this film teach you? Kate.
I'm still learning from it, but I think that I can do more than I think. And that I think the like Reggie saying, the evolution of the thing you write and then the thing that gets filmed in 5 days. I think I did ours in 5. I did mine in 5. Lots of people, lots of moving parts. And then I did a pass on an edit with a friend of mine, and I wasn't satisfied. And so during the pandemic, I returned to this film. Though my friend did brilliant and beautiful work, I just knew it wasn't quite, I wasn't settled with it. And I too had creative, like, I got to do something. And we were all at home. And so I went back into the cut and I taught myself how to edit very rudimentarily on iMovie. And then I enlisted a friend to translate that into Premiere Pro. But I essentially I started editing. I found the film. Time is your friend. It's taught me that. Time is your friend. I started composing because I had no money to license songs. And actually I loved how the piano fit with it. And I'd played piano as a little girl. Your limitations and time are your friend. That's what it's taught me. And that I can do more than I think. And that ultimately it begins with the pen, and I do write in pen still, and then it goes to the computer. It kind of begins in pen, but the all-encompassing nature of the creation in this medium, because I'm in it, I act in it, I can't get enough of it. Like, there wasn't any part of it I didn't really love. So, but the creative piece has many, many dimensions to it. And as an actor getting trained, and you think you're this one thing, and this absolutely defied that for me. And so I hold it dear in my heart.
Absolutely.
And I'm transformed by it, really.
Reggie, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, like, Kate stole my script. I could not agree more with like everything she just said. That's I found, yeah, very similarly, like I can do more than I thought I could. And because I feel like I've had this way of thinking or feeling or being about stuff from the time I was at Yale, where it was just like, all I can see most of the time are people who are excellent at something. And then I see them being excellent at it, and I know I'm not that. And then I allow that to curtail my own expressions of artistry or intelligence or whatever it might be, because like, well, I'm not that. Like, see, it's like I'm not quite. And it's just to realize, and I think it took doing this short term to realize this, to realize I know more than I think I do. Like, yeah, am I, Spike Lee or Spielberg or, like, no, sure. But you grow, you learn. And not only do you grow and learn as you go, but you also actually have more knowledge than you realize you do. It's not perfect knowledge, and I need to not, as I'm a perfectionist, and as are most Yaleys probably, but so it's just like, okay, it's, you don't have the perfect, but you do have the really good. Use the really good you've been given. And especially when you get into, if you're writing and directing and just the collaborative nature of the medium, I think I've realized I've grown to appreciate more and more of just realizing, okay, well, here's what I thought, here's what I was seeing, but then my actress gave me this. It's like, oh, that's great. It's like, oh, I saw this, but like my sound guy gave me this. It's like, oh yeah. And being able to grab from all of these, sources, and all of them feeding into the whole to make, I mean, it's magic. It's one giant magic trick. And I'm yeah, I love it. And I so by the time I was done, it was an exhausting, I was a crazy person with this, because the script is 16 pages and we shot it in 2 days, which for those who don't know is very fast. That's not ideal. But and it was a crazy 2 days, but I loved them. And like, exhausted as I was on that, by the end of the night, that second day, that very night, I was just like, I would do this again. This is great. Telling stories is fantastic. Making movies is it's a treat. So I was like, this is dope. I got to do this again. So it's such an encouragement to realize just that simple thing. You know more than you think you do, and to make the decision to apply yourself and to do it in and of itself, like, it's just like, okay, cool, like, and that's going to help continue to move things forward so that you can eventually become Spike Lee and Spielberg and whoever else. So yeah,
that was inspiring. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Giovanna.
Right. So what did I learn with draw? There are some like surface level things, which are like, obviously I learned how the equipment works and how actually I saw the process of movie making in tiny, in a short time span. And I think, yeah, but I think on a deeper level, it was kind of like I learned a lot about trust, where it's like, first of all, I need to trust myself that like, I wrote something and I'm like, I don't know, nobody will like this. And like, I don't, it's a very first time, I've never done this. And I feel weird like directing people, because it's like, I don't know, it's like just something I wrote, and I don't know, like, you don't have to do that, right? But then like, I got a lot of great feedback from the team, and from, we had like an advisor from the Cinemat who was like helping us, and being like, giving us advice, and, who had experience. And so, and she would, I just remember I gave some direction and she was like, that was good. And I was like, oh, like, I don't know. It's just something I thought of. Like, whoa, so it's like trusting myself, but also like trusting the team and everybody else. Cause it's like, everybody is there to support this as an artwork, and like to make it the best it can be, in the amount of time that we have. It was a great creative constraint. But it was, yeah, definitely like, I feel like so many of the projects that I've done, like academically, are like very individual. It's like, no plagiarism. And also, even when you can collaborate on something, it's maybe not as creative or something. So yeah, so I majored in physics. And so it was very, I worked in a lab, but like my project was very much my own. It was, I had definitely tons of help from the grad students and the postdocs. But I was like putting stuff together, and so I kind of micromanaged that because I was the one working on it. And so, but with filmmaking, it's a huge task. And so that's not possible. You can't do everything, and you have to rely on other people and realize that they are, like, in the way that they had trust in me, I should have trust in them, and they're competent and beyond competent. They're excellent. And so, yeah, I realized it's good to trust people, and it works. It works out. Yeah, and I guess also on the physics note, I did learn that everything I learned in physics for some reason applied really well to to filmmaking. I was like, we were doing, yeah, so obviously, like, aperture and everything. I mean, I was in an optics lab, so it was like I did cameras, that was my thing. It was like, oh, this is that, and it's like, oh, you have to make sure that the lines are all connected, you know, for the sound and everything. I was like, oh, I also do that, I plug machines into each other. And then data processing. It's like, okay, yeah, how do you get the file from one place to another place, make sure everything kind of comes through, exporting and everything. I was like, I do that. That's physics. So, yeah, I guess I learned 3 big things, some of them bigger than the others.
That is awesome. Transfer of skills. I like that. Alvin, what about you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I resonate so much with what all of you guys have said, Kate, Reggie, and Giovanna. I think for me, the biggest thing that I learned from being a part of that process with Giovanna was just how impactful collaboration can be in the creative space. Similar to her, I came from like a STEMmy background. I studied statistics in college, and I didn't really get a lot of opportunities to have any sort of like creative outlet. And just being a part of the production and filming for like literally just a day, like I think we were there for maybe 6 or 8 hours max filming, was just so, I feel cheesy but saying like inspirational. I have a little bit of like editing experience with Premiere Pro just because we have a free license through the university, and I've always thought like, oh, it'd be really interesting to see if I could ever make something, but I've thought, okay, that sounds really hard, like it's this nebulous idea. I feel like I wouldn't be able to do it, but seeing how gracefully, Giovanna, you handled it, given how like amateur we all were, hey, I see the face you're making. I think you did a good job. It's just really exciting to think like now, okay, if I ever do just have like some ideas for little things that I might want to make, just being able to, like you said, trust the people and use their energy and mix it with yours to make something that's creative and interesting, even if it's just to you, is something really valuable. And I think I have a little bit more confidence myself now going forward if I did want to do something like that.
That is wonderful. An excellent outcome. We have just a couple minutes left. I don't want to keep you too long, but final thoughts very quickly. If everyone could please share what they hope comes of this film. What's the outcome? What do you hope an audience gets out of it? What is your hope for the future of this project? Kate?
I think I've got to keep going. I think I love the opportunity. I love that it's, sorry, my dog has joined the Q&A.
He can join, or she can join.
He has something to say too, I guess. I love the opportunity to be able to just have it stream and be seen and in all places. And so that I think am hoping that an audience can connect with it, members in the audience connect and are moved in some way by the work. But I think it's far from done in some ways for me. The story has evolved quite a bit, but this film, I think, Reggie, you may have said this, it's like leading me. It feels like it's in a continuum and I'm moving into the next. And so it's given me more than I could have hoped. And I'm very much still crafting something that has been with me for quite some time. And it's just now I found an even larger, I think, space for it and more understanding about how it all threads together.
Reggie?
Yeah, agreed. I think that it's with me now. I feel like it has taken on almost a life of its own. And again, this being so just blown away by the experience of making it, and so captivated by the story and the world, and just having the sense of, sort of like Kate said, like it's not, I'm not done. It's not done. There's more story to be told. And just even in the face of the challenge of trying to get a movie made, like I'm sure all of us, all the filmmakers here, have just like making our shorts weren't easy. It was labor of love, but it was labor. It was hard work. And I think the harder work of continuing along with the world of the Marked is something I'm nervous about, excited for, passionate about, and so desirous of. I want people to see it, and because I think it's I think it's good. It more. I think that's the other thing too. Is just realizing like this is pretty good. Like it's not just this little self-congratulatory. Oh, I made some things. Like no, I think it's actually really good. So just when you have that, like part of the experience of something and the enjoyment of it is you taste something. Oh, this is delicious. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Taste this. Like that's what we want to do. We want other people to taste the little thing we've cooked up. So that's the hope. God willing, in 2024 we get some traction, and then something happens, and who knows. But that's the hope.
That's awesome. Giovanna.
Well, I guess my goal with this film was to learn about filmmaking, but also that this somehow would get back to my deadpan professor, about whom I kind of maybe wrote it, and it did. So that was great. And I guess also the hope with the Fro film is that like it becomes like an artifact of like once you have this great film career, and then it's like, but there was this one film that they made, right at the beginning, and it was like the first time that all of them, and they were all together. Isn't that amazing? And they were all together in this one film. It's like, and here it is, and it's like silly, but yeah, I don't know. That's the dream.
Excellent. Alvin, your concluding thoughts, and to conclude the panel.
Awesome. I think my goal when I said yes to Giovanna asking to be part of this project was just to do something that I hadn't done before and hope that it is enriching. And I mean, I think both of those goals were met more than 100%. I think for me going forward, I think the goal is, this might open my eyes a little bit more to being part of these different creative processes if I get the chance, or just seeking out those chances. Even if I don't, end up as some professional in like the filmmaking industry, I think having this experience was great, just because I think I'm definitely going to lend myself more to being a part of these projects, and just trying to see how I can be creative in ways I didn't think I could be before.
And that is an excellent note on which to end. Thank you all for your courage and creativity, and for speaking about these films. We're delighted to have you involved in this festival, and we look forward to concluding tomorrow. And I encourage everyone watching right now to enjoy all of these films and to support your fellow Yale filmmakers in whatever form. So thank you all so much, and we'll see you tomorrow.